Hallelujah. Thank you, God. I'm going in the right direction. Get out of tyranny. You will not believe the weight it takes off of you. Step 1 of the glow up plan. Trust me, move, make the move. I was so happy to wake up to the sun every day and be somewhere where I felt like I could breathe. It took me 15 years to get here. And I'm sure glad I waited because I was really able to level up my whole life, my health, my income, and I was able to get into a much nicer home. On this episode of the Dr. Tyna Show, I want to wish you a very happy new year in 2026. This year, I'm going for the ultimate glow up, and I want to take you along for the ride. So I'm going to share with you everything I've done thus far to get to where I am now, because I didn't realize it and I was not paying attention to it, but my person who helps me with my Instagram was like, oh my gosh, Tyna, you got to drop in here and look at the comments. And so I did. And so many of you were like, this is the glow up of the year. What are you doing? You look amazing. You look so happy. You look so healthy. And I wanted to share with you what's been going on so that maybe you could have your biggest glow up of 2026 too. So let's jump in. All right. I'm not trying to brag. This was just what was said to me on Instagram. People were just going off about my hair, my skin. What was I doing? I looked so different. And what happened was I had posted a reel. I don't know, it was probably from a few weeks ago, like towards the end of the year. I posted some podcast footage and people were the comment section was great, but the DMs were thick with a ton of praise. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. That is so nice. And I just thought, I'm such a grumpy girl. And I was like, no, it's nothing. It was just good lighting. And then I went and got my driver's license for Arizona the other day. And normally those are the worst pictures, right? And we don't love them. And the people were so nice where we went, because in Arizona, they're smart and they have third-party companies. They charge you a small fee and they do all of it there. So you don't have to go to the DMV, which is so lovely. And I looked at the picture. She was kind enough to show it to me. And she's like, do you like it? We can redo it. And I was just blown away at how good it was. I was like, oh my gosh, I hate taking photos. You know how much I hate taking photos? Go look at my website at drtyna.com. Go look at any of my promotional anything. And what you're going to see is me in photos from 8 years ago with short hair. That's how much I hate taking photos. That's how often I let people take pictures of me. I cannot emphasize to you enough how uncomfortable I am behind the camera. I do this because I'm just sitting here talking to myself in a room. And then I imagine I'm talking to my best friend, and that's how I get through it. But I don't love having photographs done of me. And here I was at the DMV thinking, oh my God, it's going to be so bad. And it was such a great photo. And you could just see the happiness beaming out of me, because honestly, I feel like I escaped from enemy lines. That's got to be glow up trick number 1. Get out of tyrannical states. Get out of places where they are running the state into the ground and taxing the crap out of you. Get out of there, because I just wrote, hopefully my final check ever to the Oregon Income Tax Board. And it just makes me want to vomit how badly that state is managed and how much they tax us for it. I don't mind paying taxes when things are managed well. So that has been very hard these last many years to continue to write enormous checks to the state of Oregon and watch the state decline and decline and decline. And people are dying on the street in Portland, like literally dying. And I'm an old school punk rock girl from downtown Portland, spent a lot of time in downtown Portland. I never saw people dying and overdosing on the streets like I do now. So it's not great. Don't go there. It's not great. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not great. And it's heartbreaking to see what has happened to my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city. And that is truly God's country up there in the Pacific Northwest. And it's just being ran into the ground. So get out of tyranny. Step 1 of the glow up plan. Trust me, move, make the move. Don't put your tax dollars into places like that anymore. Go somewhere where your tax dollars might actually matter. I mean, I know everywhere has its own issues, but the sweet taste of freedom was this huge weight off of my chest. And I felt it as I was driving out of Oregon. I thought for sure I was going to cry my heart out and be so sad that I was leaving my family behind. And honestly, the further I got from Oregon, the further I got into, we drove through Nevada mostly. The second I got into the sun, I was like, Hallelujah. Thank you, God. I'm going in the right direction. I'm going in the right direction. So get out of tyranny. You will not believe the weight it takes off of you. If you have ever been divorced after a terrible, narcissistic, horrific relationship, you know what I'm talking about. You get out and you're like, oh my God, I can breathe. It's like those leaded vests that they put on you at the dentist, that when you're little, they weigh 1,000,000 pounds, right? I just remember how heavy they were as a child, and they would take them off you and you were like, oh, I can breathe again. That is how it feels to get out of a horrific marriage or a horrific, narcissistic, abusive relationship with the state that you live in. So did that. Don't ever want to go back to the West Coast ever again. I know I probably have to go to LA here or there for work. I love the West Coast. I think it is the most beautiful place in the world. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the coastline of the West Coast. There's nothing like it. From Mexico all the way up into Oregon, into Washington, it is God's country. And of course, demons always take over where God reigns the most. So I'm not going to be going back to the Pacific Northwest anytime soon if I can help it. I tried, but couldn't do it. So get out of your horrific living situation, step one. Easier said than done, but I just made a decision and executed. That was really as simple as it was, you guys. And I know a lot of you have asked, and I know I've talked about this a lot because a lot of you ask. A lot of you are like, you look so amazingly happier that I feel like I need to go too. I need to do it. Like people are DMing me, telling me that they're convincing their husbands now. They're like, look at Tyna before and after. So then I took that license picture. It was such a great picture and it came in the mail very promptly, unlike Oregon. And I put it side by side with my Oregon license that I took just a few years ago. And I posted it to Instagram in my stories. And people were like, whoa, the glow up, like what a difference, right? Just huge difference. So yeah, that's when I noticed it. And that was just a few days ago. And I thought, I'm going to make a podcast about this because I think you guys need to know what all I'm doing. Because there's actually some tips in here for you besides just move out of your tyrannical state. You have no idea, though, what living amongst people that you do not align with does to you. I lived out in the country, thank God, and the people out there were great. It's a pretty, kind of just libertarian, leave you alone crew, like everyone just wants to be left alone to live their lives. Tight-knit community, but also just like stay out of each other's business kind of thing. A little gossipy in the smaller towns, but still like they take care of their own. But Portland just turned into a crazy town, like crazy place. And I no longer align with the majority of my profession, the naturopathic profession at all. I'm hoping the NDs in Arizona are a little more sane, but I really do not align with my profession anymore. And I often still get invited here and there to do things that would help the profession. And I'm like, I am not interested in being any part of this profession anymore. So I love my license. I love naturopathic medicine as I love the medicine, do not love the people involved anymore. So sorry if that's harsh, but if you're thinking of becoming a naturopathic physician, I highly encourage you to not do it. And I probably should do a podcast about that someday, but people will come at me and I'm so tired of people, crazy people screaming at me. So don't do it. I had to get out of medicine in order to make enough money to pay off my student loans. Let's just put it that way. It's not worth it. And I had a very successful practice. So getting away from that whole crowd was very helpful. Like just not being in the vicinity of people that hate you was very helpful to me. So getting out of there, I was afraid to go downtown Portland because I had received non-aliving threats for years from the terrorist organization that runs that city. So that was not good. That was not helpful. There was just no part of being in Oregon that felt comfortable to me. And I would get off the plane and I would land in PDX and I would just immediately feel anger and rage. And then the weather sucks completely. It's so bad. Like 9 months of rain is not my jam. So all of that culminated into me feeling fervently that I had to go. And I only share that not to be negative, but maybe you felt that way before. Maybe you have felt in your soul like, I have to get out of here now. And I got a hit from, I've been talking to Jesus a lot, and I got a hit from God about a year ago that felt so fervent. I truly felt in my soul. And I heard it clear as day, if you do not get out of here by next winter, you're not going to survive this. And I don't know what that meant. I don't know if that meant a bad flu. I don't know if it meant just insurmountable stress. I don't know what it meant, but I had to go. And I had to go so fervently that the clock was ticking by October. And my husband was like, we got to finish with the farm and there's stuff to do and the cows. And, there was just a lot to do. And we were getting up on Halloween and I was like, we are leaving on Halloween. That is non-negotiable. I have to leave here. The rain had already come and settled in and it had already been gray for weeks. And I was like, I had this fervent terror in my heart that if I did not escape right then, that I wasn't going to make it. So you can call me crazy, but I'm so glad I did. So it took me a minute when I got here and I was having a tough time just coming down the mountain, I call it. Maybe you know that feeling. You've just undertaken something extremely stressful. Like when you get out of medical school or you get out of the military or you get out of something that's like been a huge time commitment and a huge amount of stress, and then it's finally gone, or maybe you get out of a terrible marriage or you leave a terrible job and you get out and you're like, whoo, and all of a sudden you get sick because your adrenals crash because that cortisol isn't cranking anymore and your body's so addicted and used to that high level of cortisol. And I call it coming down the mountain, and it's real. And this is why many of you, like when we were in medical school, Christmas break would come and we'd all get sick. We'd get through finals and then we'd crash because of that whole cortisol situation. And so I got here and I was doing great. I was like, woohoo, everything's great. And then bam, I got slammed and I got really sick. So I was just shocked and surprised that you guys were being so nice to me and leaving me such nice DMs and comments on Instagram, because I haven't even looked at YouTube. I don't ever look at YouTube comments because it just gets too crazy for me. But I thought, man, I was not feeling great when I recorded some of those videos that I was getting compliments on. So anyway, very nice of all of you. But I thought, again, let me share this. And I don't, again, mean to beat the dead horse on leaving the terrible situation, but I cannot tell you how many times I've had patients who got out of terrible marriages or left terrible jobs or moved out of terrible situations or left the state. And I see them later and they're so much better off. All their labs normalize. Their chronic issues go away. Chronic pain resolves. I could tell you stories, crazy stories of people who finally made the call to get out of the situation that felt terrible to them. And it doesn't have to be a terrible situation, you guys. That's the thing. I was living in a beautiful house in a beautiful part of the state, in a place where people would bend over backwards to have the life I had. I'm not complaining about that, but it was not for me anymore. It was no longer serving my higher purpose. And I could no longer do my higher purpose that God wants me to do, feeling and living in the situation I was in. So I had to go. That was it. I left my whole family. I took my husband, of course, but I left my parents there. I left my daughter there. I'm hoping to get them here to Arizona soon. So knock on wood, pray for me, because we're working on it. But I had to go. I have no other answer than that. And I'll tell you the truth. Once I got out of there, I realized I had to go a long time ago, probably 15 years ago. I have been unhappy and depressed in Oregon since I can remember. When I was packing, I was going through all my stuff. I made myself go through all my stuff, like with a fine-tooth comb. And I realized I had been so sad since I moved there when I was 14. I'd been so sad. And I just hung in there. And I moved several times to California. And even though I was never living in the most ideal situation in California, in fact, I was living in some pretty crappy situations there, I was so happy. I was so happy to wake up to the sun every day and be somewhere where I felt like I could breathe. And California was great back then. And then I just kept coming back to Oregon and I kept getting stuck there. And then my mentor, I was going to leave. At one point I was going to leave. My daughter was young and I was going to go. I was going to move to Arizona. I've been trying to move here forever. And I was going to restart my practice. I'd been in practice a few years and I was going to reboot here, and that was going to be challenging, but I had just built it. So it wasn't going to be that hard. I still had a lot of youth in me and a lot of gusto. And my mentor got sick with cancer and I had to take over his practice. And then he died. And then I just was stuck there. So, and then I left my practice. I closed my practice down. Right before COVID, I got out of the big brick and mortar and I was going to move again. I met my husband November 2019 and I was going to move. I was going to buy a house. I had done well for myself that year, and I was going to go buy a house somewhere. And I was really looking to get out of Oregon. I was like, I don't think it's not, I was living in a little tiny apartment because I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on a nice big apartment because I just wanted to leave. I wanted to leave the state. My daughter was grown. She was living on her own. I was going to leave. And COVID came. And then I got quarantined out on the farm, and I never left the farm. And I tried to move out again in 2021. And then, well, the last administration came for me, and the censorship industrial complex came for me, and they destroyed my life. And so my health fell apart completely in 2021, just completely bottomed out. I ruptured both of my Achilles soon after. I was politically targeted. I was debanked. And the stress was too much. I couldn't handle it. And getting a mortgage was getting very challenging because I was clearly on a shit list. And then I tried again a few years ago, and I was still on a shit list. It didn't matter how much money I was making. Things were not going easily. So banks were being weird. I don't know. And then all of a sudden the gates opened this year. I don't know what it was, but I tried again, and it worked. And I was like, all right, see ya. I'm out of here. So it's been fantastic. So I just want to encourage you, keep trying, keep your eye on the prize. It took me 15 years to get here. So, and I'm sure glad I waited because I was really able to level up my whole life, my health, my income, and I was able to get into a much nicer home and really live the life I wanted to live that I had envisioned. I also envisioned it. I cannot emphasize that to you enough. The idea of vision boards and all that is one thing, but I literally put a picture of the Sonoran Desert on my laptop, and I stared at it every day for 5 years. That was my laptop picture. So that was my screensaver, was the Sonoran the saguaro cactuses in the Sonoran Desert. And I now live in the high Sonoran Desert. So I stared at it I was convicted to make it happen. What I didn't get was the part where I should have just given all that stress and grief to God and just put my faith in that process. And I didn't understand that until it's September of 2025, and I'm knee deep in purging and packing, and I'm losing my mind in all of it. All of a sudden, I had a true come to Jesus moment. It was like, I remember I was just crying on the couch because I was like, I get it. What? Why have I been fighting this? This could have been so much easier all these years. Why was I trying to battle demons by myself? Anyway, got here, got sick, but got plenty of sun. And I think that's step 2 is morning sunlight. So here's a real pearl for you. I can't imagine doing it in Oregon. I tried, but the wind where I lived and the rain and the cold made it real difficult. But I go outside every day in the morning, just like straight away. I straight away go outside, and I spend as much time as I can throughout the morning outside. So that morning red light is magical. The red light in the morning, it cannot be replaced. And yes, you can get it through clouds, and yes, you can get it in cold climates. I don't know what to tell you though, because I just did not have the cold tolerance to be chilling outside with any skin exposed in Oregon in the middle of winter. So that was real tough. Having sun around. Plus, if you look on your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, I don't know how it works on other apps, but you go to the weather app and then you go to, you can click on the day, and then you can actually look at the UV index. And in Oregon, the UV index never gets up to 3 in the winter. It's always at 1 or 2. And you can't make any vitamin D or really have any kind of vitality or health unless you're at a UV index of 3 for at least a period. And here in the winter, we only get it for maybe an hour and a half, but you bet I'm out there. And it's usually sunny midday here. And so my husband and I will strip down to shorts and he'll take off his shirt and be down in his shorts, and I'll be in a tank top and shorts if we can handle the cold. And then we're out midday. So almost every day we get midday sun as well, when that UV index is at the peak. So, and then we do evening, we try to do an evening, sort of late afternoon, closer to sunset. We sit outside and we watch the sunset. And so we're priming our eyes. And I've talked about this a lot, you guys. I know you hear me talk about going for a walk during those times a day, but doing it where there's an actual UV index that's worth a damn is total game changer for my health. The other thing I've been doing, here's part 3, is we're not getting a lot of distance in. I probably could walk 4 times as much and probably should, but I'm getting at least a mile in every day with my dogs. And that mile is in the morning. So It's usually around 8:30 in the morning, but we go out for a good half-mile walk all together, and they spend a lot of time sniffing. It's a big deal for them to sniff. You guys, if you don't let your dogs go on sniff walks, there's a pearl for you right there. Sniff walks are huge for them. Their heart rate actually gets up higher than if they were doing aerobic exercise. So like a 20-minute sniff walk is supposed to be the same as like a 45 minutes of high-intensity exercise. I don't know about that, but there's just a lot of action happening in their brains, and it's very stimulating in a good way for them. It's good for their dopamine. And it's really good for me just to kind of let them do their thing. And then we hustle, and then we have a second walk in the evening. So I'm trying to get that light. I'm trying to get outside and get that light as much as I can. I know a lot of you probably go out and walk your dogs. Keep it up. It's good for both of you. It really helps being in a climate where there's actually some appreciable sun. So that's been huge for me. Again, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, like, I had to do this for my health, and I feel so much better. And I know now that it has improved things because I ran my labs just last week, and they are all improved. Everything has improved. And I didn't change anything about what I was putting in my mouth. In fact, I am exercising less than ever. I have not gotten myself back into a gym since I've gotten here. I've worked out a few times. Honestly, handful of times. I am the most out of shape physically that I've been in a decade, but I had to let my body rest. I had to. I was over the top maxed out physically, and the amount of pain that I was living in, especially last summer, and I did a podcast episode about it, the amount of pain I was in last June, July, August was so unfathomable. I can't ever say that word. It was so intense, and it was so long standing. And it's been years and years of really horrific pain that has just ramped up. And I'm talking like 20 years here, in the entirety of my daughter's life. And at times it's been worse, and at times it's been much better. It was really bad in medical school, stress. And it was really bad since 2021. 2020, the last 5 years have been awful as far as stress goes for me. So my pain has been through the roof. And there's no supplement, there's no peptide, there's no nothing that's going to pull you out of that. You have to get the stress down. And I couldn't get the stress down because I was living somewhere that I didn't want to be. I just didn't want to have anything to do with being there. So I think that helped a lot. So my labs have improved significantly. My pain has improved significantly. And for doing nothing. And that happened within weeks of being here. The pain went down. I've talked about that on here before, but my pain went down very significantly, like moderately to significantly. Depends on the day. Right now, today it's cloudy. They sprayed the skies yesterday, so it's raining and cloudy today, and my pain has ramped back up. So it's definitely weather related and dryness related. So Oregon's not for me. It's just very clear. Oregon is not for me. So that's all been really helpful. And with that, I mentioned the pain because when your pain goes down, that constant stress on your nervous system declines. You can't come out of an overactive, overstressed, burned out nervous system living in chronic pain. It just depletes and exhausts you. If you've never lived with chronic pain, God bless you. I hope you never experience it. But if you have, it is like nothing I could ever describe to you. And you don't know how you're going to make it through every day sometimes. You sometimes don't want to make it. It's so bad. And I have a really high pain threshold, and it just had gotten to be completely unbearable. I was just so tired of living like that and feeling like that. I don't mind, I walk around like a good day is a 3 to 4 out of 10. That's a good day. And I am fine with that. I can manage that. My nervous system can handle that. But when it's a 6 or a 7 or an 8 out of 10, and my 10's pretty high. Like it wears you out and it shows up on your face. So it ages the heck out of you. And you just feel awful and you look awful and everything's swollen and everything hurts. And I think there was mold in the house I was living in Oregon. I feel fairly certain there was mold there. And I do not want to test because I do not want to remediate because I do not ever want to go back there again. So I will leave that up to my husband to deal with if he wants to go back there. But I am not interested. So I never tested because I didn't want to get into the thick of it because I didn't want to be there. And I didn't, that's not my home. So anyway, that's all been very, very helpful and life-changing. And I'm trying to keep this interesting for you and not just, I hope this is helpful. I hope some of this can be valuable to you because I really want to emphasize if you are living in a situation and there's any way that you can get out of it, it's a situation you just can't tolerate anymore, and there's any way you can get out of it, I really want to encourage you to get out of it because I'm trying to tell you all the good things that came from this that were just like side effects. that with no action taken on my part. I didn't have to work harder to get better. I was working so hard just to stay functional, and I don't have to even try now. I just wake up, I feel great. My cortisol has come down significantly. In fact, it's too low. I tend to run really low in my hormones and really low in cortisol. And my cortisol is so low right now, it's a little too low, but I'm like, it feels better than when it was cranking. And I was just like out of my mind with stress. So that's good. What else have I done? So the walks are really important, only because they're like lollygag walks. I've talked about these kind of walks before. They're not intentional to lose weight. They're not intentional to hustle. They're just like letting my dog sniff. And then a coyote runs across the road, or a bunny rabbit, or like a whole flock of quail. I live near a sort of freeway, if you will, of critters. And so we'll see bucks and deer and javelinas, and they come sort of right through my backyard as a like a pass through. It's like a highway of critters. So I love it so much, and I get to see something almost every single day, and that's been so wonderful for me. And much more critter action than when I lived out in the country, to be honest with you. So that's been really, really, really cool, and that's helped quite a bit. What else have I done? I backed way down on my supplements. I quit trying so hard. I guess that's the step 4. Are we at? I quit trying so hard. I just quit trying to fix it all with peptides and with this and with that, and just really simplified what I was doing. And it's helped tremendously. The next thing I did was I got serious about handling my hormones and taking them regularly. Now, I was in a situation, I think it was the mold, that my hormones were not going down favorable pathways. And I'll talk more about that another day. That's how you look at that with a Dutch test, but things were not going well for me there. And I wasn't feeling well, and I wasn't looking well, and everything was crazy. And so I sort of took all my hormones away for a minute, put the progesterone back in, but went off the estrogen and the testosterone, which was not a great idea, but I had to because I couldn't figure out what was happening. And in the meantime, I needed to get the inflammation down. And so there are times when those hormones can be driving things not the good way. So I got off everything. And when I got here, I committed to really working out what my dose was on my patch, my estrogen patch, and what dose of testosterone I needed. But you know what? I did not start taking any extra testosterone. My testosterone went up though. And I think I won't say it's because stress went down. I have had a different kind of stress since being here. I am doing a lot with real estate and just have had a lot going on and a lot of financial stressors on me. So I wouldn't say that overall stress has gone down, but a lot of my lab markers have improved, and testosterone is one of them. Interestingly, and I have never done a podcast about this, but I really think that your partner, if you have a male partner and you're a female, I really think that your male partner's testosterone levels matter a lot, and they will impact your health. I firmly believe that. And my husband started regularly making sure that he was utilizing his testosterone. He's also outside a ton more. He's getting a ton more sun. So I think his testosterone levels have improved significantly. Therefore, my testosterone levels have improved, because that's what happens when you have intimacy. So there's that. So everything's going in the right direction. I feel good. I feel like my hormones, I look normal again. There have been times when I have had such tremendous eye bags or such tremendous weird swelling, and it's just been really challenging. So I knew everything was lining up for me in Oregon, that I was on the wrong path. I was not going in the right, I didn't need to be there. I shouldn't be there. So I got out of there. So that's been really helpful. I also ditched all my courses. I've taken all my courses down because I don't want to talk about GLP-1s anymore. I will talk about them when I'm ready, but the whole thing got really messed up, and my name keeps getting drug into it. A day doesn't go by that I don't get a screenshot or something from someone on my Instagram showing me a company that's using my content to sell their wares, or some kind of weird AI thing using my face and using my likeness and dubbing in my voice with AI. And there's nothing I can do. And it's all around this GLP-1 conversation. And the whole thing has become very twisted. And of course, because people are greedy and they'll do whatever they got to do. So I've done podcasts about this before. I won't belabor it, but I pulled all my courses down. And the day I pulled all my courses down was the biggest relief. I don't want to have any memory of my life before 2020, the end of 2025. I just pulled everything down. I'm going to revamp some things. I'm going to relaunch some things, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like right now. And I don't really care. I know it'll come to me. I just want to serve God in the highest way with my voice. And I until I get clarity on what that looks like, I'm not going to take any action there. So that was really just like putting to bed my past and just closing the box and being like, okay, I did that. Very good. I'm proud of it. It was great. And I'm going to take a break now. So that was really relieving. And then, of course, the next day, Diary of a CEO reposts a reel from when I was on there a couple summers ago and about GLP-1s. And like the comment section was just complete meltdown because people are so ignorant, so completely ignorant and so out of touch with how these peptides actually work. And it was just a nightmare in there. And I had a total panic attack. I was like, oh, like I don't want to remember any of that. So I hope I get another chance to sit down with Stephen Bartlett another day and have a conversation over topics that aren't so enraging to people. But I am tired of stumbling upon the enraging topics and thinking innocently that like, oh, I'll talk about this, it'll be fine. And it's not fine. So, gosh, I was talking about women needing testosterone back in 2019 and I got obliterated for that. It's bizarre when you're early to the conversation, how angry people get when they're not ready to hear something. And their reaction, instead of being curious, is anger. Then COVID. Then, and like everything I've said about COVID has played out exactly. Like I have not been wrong about any of it. And people were so angry at me when I spoke of it. When I was just telling them how coronaviruses work, people got so mad. And then this GLP-1 conversation has been so misunderstood. And then it got twisted and it's just weird, watching weird influencers who have absolutely zero health credentials selling you into injecting peptides into your body. It's like, leave me out of it. So we'll come back in 26 with some good stuff. I've got some ideas brewing, but you don't get your best ideas. Here's a pearl for you. If you are an entrepreneur, you're a creator, you do not get your best ideas unless you are happy. You cannot be in a shitty situation and create great stuff. I'm sorry. That was the reason I moved, because I could not do my job. I could not create from a place of joy, which is what you guys need, with being as unhappy as I was. So there's that. And number two, you can't come up with great ideas until you get quiet. And I used to think it was because your mind needed rest and you needed the quiet and all the rat race to slow down, which is true. But I actually think you need the quiet so you can pray, so you can hear God. Because then God talks to you in the quiet and then you can hear him. And you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Thanks. Thanks for that. So that's been huge. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've done is just giving my heart to God and praying every day and reading the Bible and just, it's been so great. It's been so great just to put down the burden and just know that like I was fighting this battle by myself and I didn't need to. And he was always there helping me, but I was making it a million times harder. So there's no battle to be fought. When I get overwhelmed, I'm like, here you go, God, I'm going to pray on this and sort it out. I don't mean to get teary. It's just been so beautiful. And I have such a beautiful relationship with God now. And I get it. So I've been going to church here. It's awesome. It's a bunch of healthy, kind people. It's so great. It's like so great being around healthy, kind people. So lacking in Oregon. Everybody there is so miserable and mad and upset. Not to say they aren't nice people, but like they're miserable, because how can you not be miserable when that shit show that's going on there and all of it and the rain and then you get the crap tax out of you and you're like, gee, this is great. No, not, so it's just been nice to let that go and not have that burden on my heart, and then to be around just really nice, healthy people who glow from the inside out, and they're in good physical fitness and they take care of themselves and they care about their health, and that's just not prevalent in Oregon at all. People really don't care about their health for the most part. And it's very different being somewhere where health is a priority for a lot of people. So I know there's socioeconomic issues. There's all kinds of issues. I'm not trying to get into that, but it's just very apparent. People in the sun, generally, even when I go to California, people in the sun tend to take better care of themselves. They just feel better, so they can, right? Like you feel better because you're getting more sunlight, so you can take better care of yourself. It's really hard to get out of bed and go outside when it's cold and terrible. I know, because I would be in bed dying of pain and depression. For decades, I did that, so I get it. The dogs are good here. They love it. We are having a fun time, and I'm moving my parents and my daughter down, and so that's going to be really great. And then the circle will be complete, and I'll have my family because I really need my mom and my daughter. They're everything to me, so that'll be fantastic. The biggest question I got on Instagram was about my hair. So that's funny because I'll just tell you, I have always hated my hair. I've had a really hate relationship with my hair. When I was little, my mom's a hairstylist and I grew up in a salon. And when I was little, I always had to keep my hair short because I have hypersensitivity, kind of, little touch of autism, neurodivergence, or whatever you want to call it. But hypersensitivity to the touch is a big part of that. And that's a story for another day. But I refused to let anyone brush my hair, and I would not brush it. So it was a rat's nest. So I had to keep it short until I was old enough to take care of it. So when I was 12, my mom let me grow it out, and I grew it out, and then I bleached the crap out of it and destroyed it. When I was 15, if you guys knew me back then, I had really long rocker hair. It was kind of like low-key permed. It was big. I was a rocker chick. I had big hair. And then I cut it all off when I was 16, and I went super short pixie cut, which was really fun. And I loved my short hair. And I worked, Doc Martens all the time. And I was in downtown Portland. Portland was so rad back then. It was so fun and so great. And the music was unbelievable. I saw Radiohead for $2. The Cranberries opened. I saw, so many shows. I saw Soundgarden for $5. Nirvana, all of them. All before they got big. And I was having such a fun time. The weather was horrible. And yes, I probably was very clinically depressed. And I was actually on an arsenal of antidepressants. So I know I was clinically depressed. But I was also chain smoking and not eating well and taking terrible care of myself and drinking too much. And just when you live in Oregon, you just want to drink coffee and alcohol because you're like, it's gray all day long. I don't know what time of day it is. And you just feel like it. So it was a fun few years that way, but I probably wasn't as happy as I certainly wasn't terribly happy. But I was seeing good music, and Portland was rad at that time. Anyway, my hair was really short. I grew it out a couple times. My daughter, when she was little, wanted me to grow it out. So I grew it out, hated it, cut it off. I freak out when I get overly stressed and I cut my hair off. That's what I do. So I was actually about to cut my hair off a few months ago. I grew it out this time because I thought, I need to get out of Oregon. I just had this vision. I had a very clear vision from God. I was sitting in the sun. There were rocks. I don't know how else to say it. There were rocks. There were rocks and cactuses. This is a couple years ago. I was not wearing black. I was wearing colors. If you've noticed, I've been wearing colors. I had long silver hair, and I had the life of my dreams. That was the hit I got a few years ago. And so I started trying out not wearing black. And my daughter and mom were shocked because I always wear all black all the time. And they were like, why are you not in black? And I said, because I had a vision. And rich, happy Tyna does not have short hair and wearing all black. Rich, happy Tyna, and I don't just mean financially rich. I mean rich, like my life is rich and complete and full and happy and calm. That girl was wearing colors and light colors and had long silver hair. So I started growing my hair out. Like, talk about intention, right? Talk about like foreshadowing, talk about visioning. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grow my hair out. Well, then right before I moved, right as I was packing and getting the pod ready and, doing all the things, purging, I was in the thick of the stress. And I thought, I'm going to cut my hair off because that's my knee-jerk reaction when I'm stressed out, is cut my hair off. In fact, I have shaved it a few times. So I was like, get this off my head. And it was getting so dry on the ends and it was looking so frizzy. Part of that was the climate of Oregon. It's not conducive to my hair. Arizona is much nicer for my hair. That's probably a part of it. But your hair is all about your health, your hormones, your nutritional status, your stress levels. The times that I had grown my hair out in the past, you maybe remember me with long dark hair years ago when I was first starting online. my hair was so brittle and breaking off all the time back then. And I was so skinny. I was so underweight and stressed out and had pneumonia all the time and was running an online business and my practice. And I was a single mom and and my daughter was a teenager and we were in the gauntlet and it was such a stressful time. And I was all alone doing it. And when I cut my hair off that time, it was because I was going silver. So to go silver, I had to decolorize all that dark hair I had. And it ended up completely frying my hair. So I chopped it. So the Tyna you met in 2020 had short hair because she had just chopped it all off so she could let her silver grow out. That was what that was about. And I thought, I wonder what this would look like grown out. So I started growing it out recently. And I don't know, what was that? 2 years ago, I guess. So. And then you saw me chop it. If you have been around a while, you saw me give myself a shag. Like, what, a year ago? It was a terrible idea. I was so stressed out. I drank a glass of wine. I took a straight razor and I watched a video online and I gave myself a shag and it was a disaster. It was not a good idea. And so I've let that grow out and we have been trying to tie the layers together because that was a homemade job. I did that on myself. So we're trying to get and I think we're kind of there. But I'll tell you what, God keeps putting the right people in my path and the right opportunities in my path. I cannot even explain it. It's the craziest thing. Everything that I have, offers that I have been made, everything is at these incredible values. The right people are showing up. Since I landed in Arizona, I have prayed for team members for this organization to show up and help me. And they've all shown up and they've all been the most amazing people. You know who you are if you're listening. And just kind-hearted, Christian, good, centered people who have a love of God and are fair. I was preyed upon in the years past by people who would way overcharge and underdeliver and then take credit for my success. Because when they look at your numbers on Instagram and they look at your email list size and all that, and then they just quote you exorbitantly ridiculous prices. And it's been a lot. So I found a really good team to help me out. Because I had pretty much fired my whole team except for my one assistant and my daughter who works for me. And back to my hair. I got here and the weather was so bad on my hair. The frizz went away for the most part because it wasn't raining all the time, but the ends were so dry and they were literally splitting up. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Do I need to eat more protein? and my hair was falling out. That was the other piece. Before I left Oregon, I was having tremendous hair loss. And I actually texted Dr. Mamina. You maybe remember her from my podcast, Dr. Mamina. She's so lovely. I texted her and I said, I'm going to start oral minoxidil because this hair loss I just can't do this. I am middle-aged. I am living it. I know so many of you are living it. So many of you, men and women, but women in particular, we are having hair loss in middle age and it's awful. And I will tell you, a lot of the women that you see that are middle aged that have big followings, they're using minoxidil, not just topically, but orally. And I did a whole podcast about hair loss and you can hear my thoughts back then, but look at my hair back then and then look at it now and what has changed. I actually had a wonderful woman that I connected with on Instagram and she sent me a whole box of products to try. And I was a little bit sketchy about it because it's, I get a lot of stuff sent to me and I'm not keen on trying new things. I have psoriasis of the scalp, which has gotten really bad in times past, which has contributed to some degree to the hair loss. And that's one of the reasons you saw me with short hair for so long, because I was going through it. I was so stressed out and I was being politically targeted and financially targeted and things were bad. And I was getting so much plaque psoriasis on my scalp. My skin has low-grade rosacea, so I'm hesitant to try. That's why you don't see me promoting a lot of skincare lines because I'm scared to try them, to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of even things with essential oils freak me out because the essential oils I'm afraid I'm going to react to. So this woman sent me a box of hair care products. I let them sit there for a week. I finally dove in and started researching them because you know me, I have to look things up. And so I researched them and I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I started trying them. And within a few weeks, the drain was not, the way that my drain is, I can see literally, I have this little cup and I pull it out and I can see how much hair I lost after each wash. And you bet I monitor that. That's how I knew my hair was falling out in Oregon because my husband was like, are you okay? Because he'd get in the shower after me and pull this huge clump up. And I was like, no, I'm not okay. I'm so stressed out. I have to get out of here. And And I mean, I was thinning. I was really, really thin through here. I thought my part was widening. I was so freaked out. I actually had a hair analysis done. I went and saw a couple different stylists. I actually took photographs and had ChatGPT analyze my scalp. And in all cases, everybody was like, you have a great head of hair. I don't know what you're concerned about. But I'm like, but it's falling out. So I'm not that far from not having a great head of hair. Anyway, they had a growth serum in this line, a shampoo and conditioner, a day-night serum, and an oil. That's kind of their like flagship product is an oil, and a split end mender. You can't really mend split ends, but you can actually mend bonds. And that's the science I've been getting into, is the biology of your scalp, the microbiology of your scalp, and the biology of hair. I have never dove so deep into it. My mom is a hairstylist. I literally grew up in a salon, you guys. I spent a remarkable amount of time in hair salons throughout my youth. I have tried everything. When I packed my house in Oregon, the room that took the longest was my bathroom. And for somebody who had short hair for that long, you would be shocked at the amount of potions and lotions. I left a full cabinet full of hair care in Oregon and brought a full cabinet full of hair care to Arizona. That is how much hair care I have. That is how many products I have tried. I have tried, you name it, I have tried it. And I feel like I could have like an Abby Young. You know, Abby Young on Instagram, the Abby Young method. I feel like I could have her Instagram with the amount of freaking products I have tried. And so I was like, fine, I'll try this. And I kid you not, within a week, I was like, oh my gosh, my hair is feeling so much better. And it's not breaking off when I brush it. I'm not getting I was getting pieces of hair falling off. And I'm not even color treated. This is my natural hair color. So anyway, I will put a link in the show notes for you guys to check it out, and you can see if you like it too. But my good word, I'm not making any of this up. I think it's really working and it's helping. And you guys all were the ones going, oh my God, your hair is hairing. What's going on? What are you doing? So I will share that. I will talk more about this later. I think I might actually do a webinar on it because it's sciencey and I don't want to nerd out too hard here. So yeah. I'm loving it. I've got my best friend on it. I got my daughter on it. Everybody's loving it. And I will share the link in the show notes how you can check it out if you want to. Anyway, that's it. That's what I've been doing. I've been giving my dogs lots of love. I've been giving my husband a whole lot of love. I get a lot of hugs and kisses from him, and I give him a lot of hugs and kisses. I have just been having gratitude and prayer in the morning when I'm out in the sun, and that's it. That's my glow up. That's what I got. Nothing magical, nothing crazy. I mean, I guess God's magical, but yeah, when you unburden your heart, you look younger and you feel better and things get lighter. So I will leave you with that. I hope that's helpful. And I hope you guys have a wonderful beginning to your 2026. I'm so excited you're here. We're going to have a great year. I've got some really cool stuff happening. So hang in there with me because we're going to have some remarkable guests. We got a new podcast studio coming. It's all happening. So love to you all. And I will see you next time.
I think the most important takeaway is get started. And I always put people just start small. You know what I want to do is I don't want to just do an exercise class. Who cares? You know, you're not changing your life because you did an exercise class. You're changing your life if you go somewhere and learn some things you can do at home. One of the ways you could offset that metabolic adaptation that happens as you lose weight is wear a weighted vest.